before from India. So the example of IPCA's earlier success with the inflammation drug is it's an oral drug applied in new indication as an oral drug. Here the drug was intravenous injection converted into a topical gel in a new disease area, thereby enabling the company to get global patents. So Novalid holds the global patents for this particular drug. This is probably the first of its kind in India's history of 77 years of independence.
Excuse me, sir. You mean to say this is an externally applied gel?
Yes.
And it will be available everywhere in all the drugstores or what?
Uh,
This availability will not be issued. We just launched. Across the country, we have 4,000 dealers. These type of products are required basically where the doctors are practicing. It's not with every retailers. So I think two zone already it's a good number of doctors available. So maybe another 10 to 15 days freely available. It's not an issue.
And any side effects?
There's no side effect. When you see the number of doctors, we done a survey because this is the one specialty which is not like, it's not like a pediatric or physicians. There's some of physicians are doing this practice, some surgeons are doing this, some of vascular surgeons also. So total in the country there are 2,400 doctors who treat this diabetic foot ulcer, because we collect this data from the doctor who treat diabetes. When the patient come with the food, where they recommend. So we will definitely in the first phase goes to all the doctors to promote this product, and later on we'll expand and we'll create the noise how to save food. So we want that to go to a common man, and I think this press conference will definitely help, because patient as on today is not aware about that, because they know if there's a diabetic foot ulcer, they know somebody who lost the foot 2 years back, they will also go with this, but this will really save a foot and we'll work on that. Thank you.
So just want to ask you, this is Vishwanath from Economic Times. So what is the standard of care for diabetic foot ulcer right now?
Well, the standard of care as per the international standards is cleaning the wound twice with saline water, uh, removing the necrotic tissue around the wound if there is any, and then bandaging the wound in a moist environment. This is all that is done as standard of care. More importantly, the doctors prescribe that the blood glucose levels have to be controlled very strictly. Otherwise, the already existing diabetic foot ulcer worsens very, very rapidly. So the idea is control the blood sugar and do this bandaging twice, as just I mentioned.
So like how many days this?
This you have to continue doing. The standard of care you have to keep doing because the wound doesn't heal. That is the problem. So that is just wound management, so that it doesn't get to amputation stage. With the drug Diulcus, the idea is to completely heal the wound, so that it doesn't, the question of worsening and leading to amputation does not arise.
So is there antibiotic?
Topicals would work. No, so there are, see, diabetic foot ulcers. When they happen, they are not infected. But as the wound remains open because it is not getting closed, it's prone to infection. When it gets infected, then the all the anti-infectives etc. are used, but they don't heal the wound. See, the whole idea is if you keep the wound open, it will always be open to infection. Idea is to heal the wound, and this drug is expected to do that.
And at what stage it leads to gangrene?
Well, infected wound which is not treated ultimately leads to death.
See, what I was addressing about that is that you have to address the circulation, because it's basically neuropathy where your sensation is gone, protective sensation, the patient doesn't realize that he's getting injury himself. So there is a sensory component of the neuropathy, there is a motor component of the neuropathy. So the food gets also deformed. So there's sort of this. So this creates a pressure at certain points in the food, and that is the point where most ulcers will take place on that part. So you have to relieve that pressure. Proper food care also is becoming very, very important part of that. So pressure offloading becomes very important, and so gangrene occurs because there is no circulation. So that tissue is called as gangrene. So when that part is there, and it, and the circulation is compromised and it is infected, and that creates a great problem, and that is responsible for the amputation of these persons. So preventing this is very important. So like he mentioned, most of the local treatment, you can take care of the wound. There are local antiseptics are there. You have to clean the wound daily, twice daily. Wound dressing is required. So all this is very cumbersome and it's a lot of burden on the patient and relatives as well on the healthcare system. So it's very important that prevention is very given much more emphasis there. So you inspect the painful pulsation, see how much there is circulation there. Like you check pulse in the hand, you can also check your downward pulses. You can do ultrasound and see how much is the circulation compromised. As I was mentioning that we also have another drug which is being marketed by IPCA in another division called as Diulcus, which comes with the brand name Zidas. And that drug addresses the painful circulation as well. So it is important that we address the not just topical therapy is going to help. You may require even serious antibiotics and hospital admission to treat diabetic foot infection. Often because you just seeing the site of the foot, will frighten you. This is the type of complications which takes place. It's a very deadly complication, diabetic foot disease. And so whole emphasis on prevention and then comprehensive management, manage glucose, blood glucose very well, manage the circulation to the extent you can, and if required, the vascular surgeons are also called in to help in those who have very severely compromised vascular functions. And the neuropathy part also you need to manage. So this is all comprehensive management, not just local management is very important to understand.
One more, like what price are you launching this, and how many? What is the time period for this therapy?
Yeah, I'll let that question be answered by Mr. Gui. But before that, I just want to add one point. That post amputation, the mortality rate is 40%. 5-year mortality after amputation is 40%. So you understand what is the level of risk that is involved in getting the foot amputated, right? So idea is that with the application of this drug, we do not let the diabetic foot ulcer reach the amputation level at all because it will get close.
Yeah, why this mortality is high? Because the person has peripheral artery disease also and likely to have coronary artery disease. Okay.
Yes.
So this
Correct,
is where
correct.
this takes place.
So if somebody has got the gangrene, then also this is going to happen.
No, at the gangrene level, you have to address that with the vascular surgeons and everything. But at the only ulcer level, where it is going to help.
And what are stage? What stage?
See, it should be meant for initial stages where there is no deep ulcer, there is no infection. So if infection is there, then infection should be treated first, and then this should be applied. So it's very important. One of the important precautions is that don't apply when the foot is infected. So first treat the infection, and once the infection has recovered, then only you apply this product at the site.
Sir, this is Nagesh from
This will be
Yeah, so ideally, let's go with the evidence available in clinical phase 3, right? In phase 3, we have done the studies up to 12 weeks. Within 12 weeks, 60% of the ulcers got completely closed. So we would like to believe that within 12 week period, almost any patient who has to get a benefit would get. But then there is a second data that after 12 weeks, for further 12 weeks, if we observe, and additional 12% patients got completely healed. So basically, I would say that between 12 to 24 weeks is the period where almost anybody who has to get a benefit out of the drug would get it.
Sir, there is a question. I have a question about, is this the only drug available in the market? This is Nagesh from IPCA. Because I remember a company from Pune, another company, We Life had introduced a similar drug some 12-15 years ago.
Very fine. So we have V-Life also. So V-Life got merged into Novartis Pharma. So V-Life was first founded by me in 2002. Then I founded Novartis Pharma in 2008. V-Life got merged into Novartis Pharma. So thank you very much for remembering V-Life.
It's a real life.
It's V-Life.
So, Anjali sir, you said to Mrs. Standard, coming point, and also are there plans to export?
In India, we launched at the prices, 10 gram is 1365 rupees. And it's dependent on the size of the wound that what is going to be considered. So if you see the cost overall, it is not very costly as compared to what are the others. But I cannot compare with like Diulcus and all. So that's not the right comparison. That's the and it's very easy. We are thinking future when patient can, if when patient come from small place, get on first dressing, later on can locally they can do this, because these are patient transportation is very difficult. Thank you.
Now, please understand that this is a patented drug, right? This is a prescription drug, so it is not freely exportable. This kind of drug has to get regulatory approval in every country where it has to be sold, right? So, at this point in time, we are in the process of developing it also for US, Europe, and other regulated markets. So, once those regulatory approvals are available, then this drug will be available in those countries also. Till then, India, where we have already got the approval. That is correct. So we did a lot. We got a lot of support from the government, I must say. We initially got a BIPP grant. Then we got a soft loan to start with. At that time, this BIPP was not there, so we started way back when the BINAC started. And then we got a soft loan, which we repaid, of course. And after that, we got a grant in aid. So I would say about 20% of the cost of the entire project was supported by the government of India, which we have successfully delivered on.
So, it was mentioned that this diabetic foot ulcer is a comprehensive management is required. So, given that IPCA is already has certain products, how are you planning to package this and market some? Because this, as we read, is a preventive to the therapy, like there's so much intervention that that is required. So how are you,
Presently we have all orals available, like for Diulcus, Diulcus, then DBP, inhibitors, then DEPA, and we've done a very extensive work in hydroxyquinone sulfate in type 2 diabetes. So already we are very much into diabetes. Barring insulin, there's others we have been addressing. So when you say comprehensive, and now let's do maybe later on, like in a total food care, you need something for other things, for dressing they use alginate and all those things. Maybe later on we can plan. So ultimately the aim is safe food, get the every people aware about this, and then a very comprehensive treatment for diabetic foot ulcer.
one more. So, like when you said that it means cardiac drug which was repurposed. So, how did you get this idea from it? Is there any data that is available anywhere in the world? And also, now that you've done the repurposing, how many countries that you've patented? Because now it is open for anyone to, do the repurposing.
Yeah. So this reference of VLife came in. So when we started VLife, at that time the idea was to develop a software platform to fail the drug quickly. So basically, normally the cost of drugs is very high because the molecules fail very late in the trial, and all that failure cost is getting added to the successful drug. So idea with that particular technology was to fail the drug early. So we developed that technology, but there were no takers here in India because nobody was doing research in the first place. So we said that fine, we will use the technology ourselves and prove it. So that's where we started using our own developed technology, and through that we found that this particular drug, esmolol hydrochloride, binds to a protein target called aldose reductase, which is a pivotal protein in the aldose reductase pathway. So that is, it's a self-generated insight, I would say. There was no literature or any public domain information. That's why we could get patents. So we have got patents already granted in US, Europe, Japan, China, and any country that matters. So the worry that somebody would just make it is not going to happen.
So can you say this is a software simulated kind of
I would say that it is software ideated product, not simulated but ideated.
and now how are you planning to take it beyond India?
Well, I think let's focus on selling the drug here in India first, but at the same time, I will separately talk to you about it. Well, I think we already have a robust manufacturing facility in place, and we see that there is no demand supply gap which is going to be there at all. All the preparations are already on, product is ready, available now. Well, Novartis Pharma is doing the manufacturing at a facility which we have rolled out.
In the state of Gujarat.
This licensing agreement with IPCA and Novel Index. What is this? Is it a revenue share or a profit share?
Yes, sir.
Is there any milestone payment?
Novalid has spent large amount of money on research. So there is a licensing fees applicable and some assistance also on initial part of activity. So we are close to almost around 13 crore we have paid to them for licensing. Thereafter, as the sales build up, there is also certain other milestone built up in the agreement. And at the same time, they will also be getting royalties also on the product. So that is the reward they will get from their research work as per the part of it.
आजकल सर न्यू बेबी बोर होता है उसको भी डायबिटीज होता है तो वो क्या रीजन है सर और 100% में 99% लोगों को डायबिटीज आज की तारीख को बताया जा रहा है
So, Dr. Parekh,
तो सर इसका क्या रीजन है और 100% डायबिटीज हो ही रहा है
नहीं 100% तो नहीं मैंने वैसे बताया 27% of the Indian population has either pre-diabetes or diabetes which is very high. Actually, what you are alluding to the newborns and all that, that is actually basically genetically driven. So those are genetically driven diabetes which you can do the chromosomal studies and find out which type of diabetes it is and how it is working. So that's one part. So major part is type 2 diabetes almost close to 90-95%, and other 5 to 10% part in India. Fortunately, type 1 diabetes is not so high, but the incidence is big where it is taking place juvenile. Earlier it used to be referred to as juvenile diabetes, where the beta cells of the pancreas are destroyed because of autoimmunity. So this is autoimmune disease where immunity is supposed to fight the outside infections and other things. But when immunity is directed towards its own cells, you get disease like rheumatoid arthritis, you get disease like type 1 diabetes or juvenile diabetes where pancreatic beta cells are destroyed. So this is the type 1 diabetes. But the most worrying part is the type 2 diabetes which is exploding in our country. And the genesis of that is actually also came out in the same ICMR in that study which came in the published in the Lancet journal, where the most important part is that visceral adiposity, visceral or abdominal adiposity, and it was first it came in 1980s when I was working in Naya Hospital. At that time, this came in the journal that Indians who are there in UK and US or European countries in the US, as compared to Caucasians, their doctors found that Indians are more prone to diabetes. So it's a combination of genetically prone plus lifestyle. So lifestyle uncovers the diabetes. And they found that Indians were less obese than the Europeans. Indians were non-smokers more compared to the Europeans, but still Indians were getting heart disease early and diabetes also early in that rural population. And they found that the obesity of the Indians is centered around the tummy. So it is called a central obesity. So the worrying part is that at that time when say 25-30 years ago, a cardiologist used to see just 2-3 patients of diabetes in his OPD. Now he's saying every second, third patient is diabetic. So so this has led to the emergence of a new specialty, cardiodiabetes. So this is where you have So in the ICMR Intact survey, where 27% of the Indians had impaired glucose metabolism or impaired glucose homeostasis, about 28% Indians are obese, and 40% Indians have abdominal obesity or central obesity, and this is linked to the generation of future development of type 2 diabetes. So this is the worrying part. Though we have 27% of glucose metabolism disturbance, but we have 40% Indians who are obese from the viscera. So Indians obesity is around the tummy, which is much harmful as compared to obesity which takes place in the hips. That is not that is found to be protective rather than harmful. So here, it is this is thing. This is where we are worried. So we should prevent obesity because this fatty tissue which is deposited in the pancreas, in the liver, it is called an ectopic fat. Fat from the fatty tissue to going to the organs. So this is responsible for fatty liver. So all these complications which are taking place, these are taking place due to visceral adiposity, and it is giving rise to inflammation. And that is why need to address this inflammation is there. What I was referring to. See, diet is Indian diet is high in carbohydrates, so we need to reduce the carbohydrates and have more protein. But we can't because non-vegetarian food we don't eat most of us. So we don't have that animal source here. So what source we have is we have a vegetarian source. How you can improve the protein part, reduce the carbohydrate part, which is much more predominantly carbohydrate in India, and that's one. Plus other the physical activities, sedentary lifestyle, all these things have been and plus genetic proneness. So together everything has created this type 2 diabetes havoc, and we need to address it very well.
Sir, लेकिन diabetes सबसे पहले identify करती है
पेंक्रियास पे तो बाद में होता ही होता है. Initial part, Indian population, the type 2 diabetes is predominantly insulin resistance. Okay. So insulin resistance meaning insulin is produced, but insulin is not acting. Okay, this is called as resistance. Resistance to action of the job of insulin is to put glucose inside the cells. So intracellularly, glucose has to move where it is required. So here, glucose is excess, but it is not going inside the cell. It is in the blood. So this is where you have to address that. So physical activity will improve your insulin sensitivity. So that's why exercise is also very important role to play.